Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Whoopee Sports, where we are having this catch-up conversation. I am your host, James Kamau. And before I introduce the guest of today, I want to remind you guys of the Do More Sports campaign. A friend of mine once told me that the good stories are the ones that can surpass a generation. The good stories surpasses a generation. And with that, we are having a campaign where we want to bring in sports journalists so that we can tell your stories if you're an athlete, if you're involved in sports, so that you can cover more. So to get all this information, go to whoopeesports.net to learn more about the Do More Sports campaign. And now for the hour that we have been waiting for. Drum rolls, drum rolls, drum rolls. So a boy who dared to dream traveled all the way across the Atlantic to chase his dreams, came back, and now he's living in the realities of those dreams. An entrepreneur and a sports business philanthropist. Help me welcome the one and only Marcel Awori. Karibu.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
It's good to be here.
Yeah.
So first of all, congratulations. You graduated. I saw that.
Into reality.
And as we start, like I just want to put you on the spotlight. Kidogo too.
Okay.
Last year after the Build All 23 tournament, you told me that you're going back for your last semester, and then you're going to have Kiswahili in your Kiswahili in all of the courses, eh?
And I failed. Before you even now try to ask me anything, I failed. I took one semester of it.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Not really. You know, taking a language when it's in a class is very different than learning just by being in Kenya. I still want to learn Swahili, but the problem with Kenya is you get too comfortable. Everyone speaks English.
But
as much as it would help me speaking Swahili a lot. Wow, it would help me a lot.
So I just want to ask you like a question in Swahili, then see if you can.
Good luck. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, karibu sana Whoopee Sports.
Asante.
Wiki yako imekuwa aje?
No clue.
Not a clue. How was your week?
Oh, it was good.
It's good.
I'm not responding in Swahili.
It's gonna be.
It was good. My week's been busy. Been planning the Build All-Star tournament in collaboration with Nairobi County League. So it's been very busy. Today is also very busy, but it's fun. Being busy is good. I don't like having free time and not having anything to do. I like to have a dynamic lifestyle. So it's always busy, but always good.
Yeah, and thank you for sparing that time to come and speak to us today.
Of course.
So I just want us to connect the dots forward. Like we'll go back so that we can connect the dots forward.
Yeah.
So I just want to start from where you were born and how was your upbringing like?
I was born in Kenya, which I'm very happy about, as much as I wish I was born somewhere else and I had another passport. Because the Kenyan passport looks nice, but it doesn't get you to a lot of places without a visa.
Okay.
I was very blessed. I was born into a very well-off family. I had everything I could ever want. Anything I ever asked for, I got. On any opportunities I wanted to have, I had access to. So there's absolutely no complaints there. I was born here, moved to Dubai when I was 1. I lived in Dubai for 6 years, which I loved. It was fun. That's kind of where I consider I did it, like my early childhood growing up. I moved from there to Tanzania. For 4 years, I left Tanzania when I was 11. Then I moved back to Kenya. I lived in Kenya for 4 years. And then I moved to the US to pursue sports.
Okay. So, just from to pick up from where you've left sports.
Yeah.
My understanding is your dad was also involved in sports.
Yeah, my dad and my grandfather.
And your grandfather as well?
Starts all the way at the top. My grandfather and his brother, who's actually Ugandan, were both track runners. His brother was much better. He was an Olympian. Marcel Awori from Uganda. He made it to the semifinals of the 110 hurdles, actually.
Okay.
At the Olympics, and he held records at Harvard for a very long time.
Oh.
And my dad was a very successful swimmer. He swam for Kenya.
Yeah.
He held records in Kenya for a long time. My sister swam for Kenya, went to the Commonwealth Games, still holds records in Kenya. So I'm a sports enthusiast and I consider myself having a very good sports career, but I'm very far down the pecking order of the Aworis. When it comes to actual athletic accomplishment,
yeah,
I have a decent way to go, and I've retired, so I don't know if I'm ever going to catch up. But we try.
Okay.
We try.
Did that that family background influence your decisions into getting into sports, or was it something that it was you must be in sports? It is a family thing. How was it?
No.
Was it your decision?
It was my decision. I started playing football. Football was the first sport I ever played I started when I was 4 in Dubai. And that was really a big reason why I was very sad to leave Dubai, because the year I left is when all these academies started to come in, Barcelona Academy, Arsenal Academy, so on and so forth. And so I was like, man, I'm leaving the opportunity to play for those academies. And when you're that age, you don't really know what it means. You think you're like playing for the real team.
Yeah.
Almost. And I had a friend that continued doing that, and it was just very sad. But I was never forced to get into sports. My parents, I think, probably aligned me with being exposed to sports from an early age, but I was never forced to. The sport I was kind of forced to do and try was swimming. That was not as optional, and I was quite a good swimmer, but swimming is not...
You didn't enjoy it?
Not my vibe.
Yeah.
Is a good way to put it.
So you're also on the track? You also did track?
Yeah. So track and football were probably my main sports. I played a little bit of basketball when I went to the US.
Did you ever participate in any triathlete events?
Like triathlons?
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
not competitively.
I
would believe I'd be fairly good at them. But I'm not interested in that triathlon, marathon, long distance running and swimming and stuff is not really my thing.
Oh, so on the track, what did you use to do? 100 meters?
I used to run the 400 meters.
Okay.
I did a little bit of 800 and I did some high jump as well.
Oh.
But 400 was my best event.
All right. So when in Kenya, you also played basketball.
I did.
There's that bit at Farm Kenya. People might not know, but you are part of the Farm Kenya founding members.
Yep.
And there's something I read on an article about you. So I just want you to give me an experience in your own words. So,
I have a feeling I know what you're going to ask. Go ahead.
So you when playing for Farm Kenya, you had to go to Kayole to train. It was the first time to interact with maybe the east side of Nairobi. How was it for you, as a 14-year-old kid?
Well, I know that there's an article that quotes me, so I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it. But look, so playing for Farm Kenya exposed me to the reality of the lives of a lot and the majority of Kenyans. Because I lived abroad and I would only come back to visit, I would remain in the bubble. Then when I came back to Kenya, I was going to the international school, so I was even more inside of a bubble. You would never leave. The farthest I would go is Riverside, where we are now. Or maybe Junction. If I'm feeling adventurous, I'll go with the family to Junction.
Okay.
Going on Outer Ring Road to Eastlands was not really heard of. So when I went for the first time, I was relatively scared, to be honest, because I had no idea what to expect and what was going to happen when we went there. I didn't know how safe it was, how unsafe it was. So it was an experience, to say the least. And then we were playing at a court that was we had to walk through a small community, and we got to the court, which is in the central part next to a river.
Did the locals refer you to as Muzungu?
Oh, yes, and they still do. They still do. And I'm like, guys, I might not speak Swahili. I might not be fully black or whatever. I'm half black, half white. Sure, fine, but I have one passport.
Okay.
Only one country claims me. So you can call me Mzungu if you want to, but I'm just as Kenyan as anybody else. And I'm very proud to be Kenyan too.
Ah, nice. Do you have from that experience, do you have something that you picked up from playing at Mathare, Kayole, something that you've carried onwards in your life?
Well, kind of what I'm doing with Build, I would say, only really would have happened by being exposed to the reality of life. Because for me, I just don't think it's fair for a lot of very well-off Kenyans to be living the way they do without supporting the communities that they could support.
Yeah.
And whether it's the community that you're from, whether it's a community that you've been exposed to, like I was with Eastlands basketball or whatever, the situations that people are living in those communities could be far better and should be far better. But seeing the fact that everyone there is more joyful more hardworking, more determined than a lot of other places, gave me a quick reality check about how much is taken for granted by people in positions like myself growing up. So I took that away, and that really has shaped my entire outlook on sports and being in Kenya, what I want to do in Kenya, the impact I want to make, and so on and so forth. And on top of that, in basketball, playing in Eastlands and being the Mzungu guy that was playing center for teams, I became a much more hardcore basketball player. And I translated that directly into the private schools league. And I was one of the most aggressive guys in those leagues because everyone else was soft. They were used to playing against other private schools. They were not going into the heart of Kayole to play basketball the way I was. And so it really helped me elevate my game because I only played basketball for 2 years.
So is it 14 to 16?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I got quite good. I'm happy to say that.
I saw your videos dunking on people.
I used my athleticism to my advantage. So
okay.
As I did in most sports that I played, to be honest.
Okay, now there's now the part where you flew across the Atlantic. Now you went to Northfield Mount Herman School.
Yes.
What that milestone, was it your decision? Was it your parents?
Purely my decision.
Your decision. Why?
So part of being an athlete within Kenya is there's really a lack of exposure to sports teams or schools abroad. And I knew that maybe I was good enough to play sports as a professional, but before that I knew I wanted to, but it was also not optional for me to finish school. I had to finish high school, I had to go to university, and then after that free to do what I wanted to do and go the route that I wanted to go.
Yeah.
So I wanted to use sports and go and play Division 1 sports in the US. And I had seen people that were with me here that were better than me at specific sports not go and play Division 1. They would get into a university, go through the regular application process, and then end up walking onto their team and play for a Division 3 team, Division 2 team, sometimes a Division 1 team, but very rarely, and for very specific sports. So I knew that I wanted to be recruited and use sports to my advantage so that I had a different application process to universities. So going to NMH, Northfield Mount Herman, is the reason. That's the main reason I went there, is I wanted to be exposed. I wanted to be in the American system. I wanted to be front-facing to coaches that could recruit me and to just really put myself in a position to excel in sports and really tap into my potential. So it was between there and the UK.
Oh, okay.
My dad went to a boarding school called Millfield in the UK, which I visited and I considered going to, but it wasn't my vibe. The UK has never been
your thing.
My thing. Yeah. As much as I'm half English, it's not anywhere I see myself. I'll go to watch Premier League games once in a while. Other than that, living, not for me. And there's also not the same sports structure for universities and schools there as there is in the US.
Okay.
So I was like, why would I go to the UK and then spend 2 years there and then have to shift over to the US to go to school?
And considering the English Premier League is one of the most successful leagues, didn't you have that in mind that you're going to play soccer, then I'll probably end up maybe somewhere in the championship? And
no, I knew I was not good enough to play at those levels. I struggled with a lot of injuries when I was playing sports, and that kind of was consistent blows to my aspirations for how far I could really go, because I suffered injuries that stopped me from being able to play sports for a very extended period of time. And so I'm not someone that's unrealistic. I like to be very realistic with the outlook of things. I knew that there was no Premier League happening for me anymore.
Yeah.
There was no Champions League happening for me anymore. Championship is a really high level of football too. And it really, I knew I was not going to go to those levels, but also I didn't want to pile my eggs in one basket. I wanted to go to a school where I was going to be getting a very good education and be getting exposed to very good schools, but playing 2 sports so that I could then decide which route made the most sense to go. If I went to the UK, I would have really been going all in for football. Yeah. And I wasn't confident enough to do that, is the easiest way to put it.
Okay. And now, did playing for Herman School, let me shorten,
NMH.
Yes. Did playing there influence, did it give you what you wanted? Did you achieve what you wanted?
Yes.
Was it the reason why you went to Boston University?
Yeah. So I got to the school. I had 2 years left of high school, so I had 11th grade and 12th grade to play. In the US, 11th grade is the most important for recruitment. I got off to a really good start on the football team. I met some amazing people, amazing teammates. The level of football was way higher than what I was playing here. The access to facilities and training was way higher than here, so it was everything I wanted. Was playing, all going well, tore my meniscus in my knee.
Also.
And almost tore my ACL and badly bruised the bone. So just like that, I didn't play majority of my junior year 11th grade season. And I also, that injury took up 7 months for recovery. So even running track in the track season, I was still recovering from injury when the track season started. I got half a season. But I still managed to do well enough in football, in the few games that I had, that I was on the radar of some coaches. And then I also managed to come third in the New England track and field championships, which was also relatively good enough to get on the radar of some schools too. So then in my senior year, I managed to speak to a lot more coaches and start to get some offers in the Division 1 level, which was the only level I was really interested in. I didn't want to play Division 3. I only wanted to play Division 1. So I got some offers and visited some schools and ultimately decided to go to Boston University to play.
Okay. So now you became a student at Boston. Help me understand. Am I saying it right?
Sargent College, yeah.
Sargent College. What does that even mean? I tried looking it up.
So within the universities, there's colleges within them. So I went to Boston University, and within Boston University exists Sargent College, which is the School of Health and Rehabilitation Studies.
Oh.
So initially I went into BU studying biology with the plan to go to med school and become an orthopedic surgeon.
Okay.
There was no way I was going to be in school until I was 30 years old. Absolutely no chance.
That's how you.
So I said, yep, let me just shift. After the first semester, I shifted into Sargent and I started studying behavior and health studies.
Oh.
So the reason being is I take a lot of my personal experiences and I translate that into the things that I'm doing and the things that I want to do. So I studied, the reason I wanted to become an orthopedic surgeon was because I could think about the role that the orthopedic surgeons played in my sports career. I broke my ankle, I messed up my knee, and they helped me get through that. Being a surgeon, being a doctor helped me get through that. Then I realized, you know what, coming back from injury is so much more mental than it really is physical, that I want to understand the psychology side and be able to support people through that instead. Not that I thought that I was ever going to become a therapist or a counselor or try to do that full time, but I wanted to have an understanding. On top of it, I felt that having an understanding of people in psychology would be very useful in business. That interpersonal relationships are so important in the business world that by understanding how to communicate with people, how to work with people, and how to read people's emotions, people's physical mannerisms, so on and so forth, it was very helpful to go into the business world, which I knew I wanted to go into. So I paired that with studying entrepreneurship in a school called Questrom at BU as well.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now, take me, you did your internship at Giants of Africa. I want to know your experience. How was it, and how did it influence you into getting matters into build? But just take me inside the world of working at Giants of Africa.
Yeah, well, it was an internship, but more so it was a platform that Masai gave me to learn more about sports. I had gotten connected with Masai through my dad, and I had spoken to him about my aspirations, my goals, and through that he said, look, you can come to Toronto and speak to a lot more of the professionals in the space, and you can see how Giants of Africa operates, and so on and so forth. So it was on that trip. If I had not done that internship, I don't think I would have started Build, if I'm being completely honest.
How long was the internship?
1 month. I was
Only
there for
1
1 month. Yeah, because it was not necessarily work. I was not doing regular interning work like administrative work or stuff. I was really just going to have conversations with key figures at one of the biggest sports organizations, MLSE, in the world. And then I also, because of Masai's role, I also got access to the Giants of Africa team. So it was more shadowing, is what I would consider it.
An observer kind of.
And I would ask questions, and I would talk to people. I would run my ideas by them. I would hear about their experiences and just absorb as much as possible. And that was a very, very life-changing trip for me, because I learned a lot about the sports industry, but I got a lot of amazing connections and a lot of amazing insight and wisdom from people that are at the top of the industry, really.
What's the one thing that you realized or got to understand, like understanding it from a perspective where sports is different, Africa and abroad, that you think, okay, so this is something that we are lacking as a continent?
Just all of the different aspects: operations, marketing, technology, partnerships, you name it. Just there was so much more in the space of sports in the back end, because I had always been the athlete. My job was show up, play a good game of football, show up, run the track well, run your time, whatever. So it showed me how much there was in the sports world which I was not aware of. And there's absolutely nothing that I could compare it to at home. And then on top of that, Giants of Africa, I realized that it's a very small and tight-knit team. That it's not a lot of people. It's not as many people as people would guess, seeing what they do and the levels at which they do it. So it was very eye-opening because of those things. It really showed me the areas in sports I would like to work. That's what first led to me wanting to be in the sponsorships and partnership space, because I got to spend time with the sponsorships and partnerships team there for the Raptors and MLSE. So yeah, and I met some people that the name Build comes from the head physiotherapist or athletic trainer for the Toronto Raptors. His name's Alex McKechnie. He told me the acronym Build for how to build a successful career. You just stick to your basics, utilize those around you, create your identity. All of that will lead to a long and successful career, and then diversify when possible. That paired with speaking to another man called John Wiggins, who supports basketball and runs tournaments and camps in the islands. So Antigua, Trinidad and Tobago, Bahamas, Jamaica. He just said, Marcel, just get started. I said, I really want to give back. I don't know when I can give back. I've made some money in school that I've been saving, that I just wanted to do something right with, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to get to this scale. And he was like, just do something, get started, just do it.
And how old were you at that time?
19,
it's
20.
Long time ago. It's a few years back.
Yeah, I think I was 19 or 20.
Okay.
It was not that long ago, but my memory is not the best. So that was then what led to me coming back, and I met with Chester, with the FAM team, and I just asked him, how can I help? And that's what led to me donating kits, and then the rest is history, kind of.
So you've done two tournaments. One was your...
Three.
Not inclusive of this one. Before this happens, but already two tournaments. You've sponsored two tournaments. One was your own organized tournament. The other one was Yablon. Then now we have the third one. But the two tournaments strike me like they have one common theme: mental health.
Yes.
I want you to explain. This is a term that has been thrown everywhere. Like nowadays, you can hear mental health, but what does it really mean? Can you explain to us what it means? And why are you, all your tournaments, you're pushing for the same theme? Why is it so important?
Well, what I studied, behavior and health studies, we spoke a lot about mental health and different things that people deal with, and how to support people through those things. And the US mental health is a very big topic. I'm very lucky and blessed that mental health has not affected my life in very significant ways, but I know people who mental health has affected their life or affected someone that they care about, and that is reality for me. It's affected people that I've cared about. But in Africa and Kenya, mental health is still just not spoken about enough and not acknowledged enough. Everyone's like, just suck it up, just get over it, just figure it out. Like you're good, whatever. Like you have a roof over your head. Like what is there to be sad about anything? And it's important for people to understand that they're supported. And I can take it from a perspective of an athlete, because I was an athlete. I dealt with injuries. There were times that I was very low. There were times that I struggled to find confidence and find motivation because of the situation I was in. And I saw it affect friends of mine that went through injuries as well, or that were going through personal things while they were athletes. And just there's a lot. Being an athlete is very strenuous, and being involved in sports is very strenuous too. So the reason why I keep having mental health as a key theme is because I want to continue pushing the agenda that mental health is important, and that people need to acknowledge it, and that it should not be something that is taboo to talk about. We're all human. We're all dealing with our own personal things in our backgrounds. We're all dealing with things that some people may not even know about. But I just want to start it from a grassroots level, that the kids and the athletes understand that they're not alone, that it's not a bad thing to be explaining the reason why I didn't play well in that game is because I'm dealing with X, Y, and Z. Or to understand that it's a very real aspect of your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
So that's why that I continue to add it into every tournament, and I will continue to. And like in the past tournaments that I've done, we did some talks at the beginning of games where I'm really just stressing the point. I'm not wanting to do too much where I'm forcing the mental health agenda to people, but I want to keep it rolling and keep it relevant and keep it as a talking point, because I think it takes that initiative for it to become more normalized.
Okay. And what about Build now, the organization? What are the key pillars, or what do you've done tournaments right now, but what are you planning on doing in the future? What should we expect? Because I saw that one of your pillars is infrastructure. So I'm curious to know, are you planning to also have a drive for courts in Africa, 100 of them?
No, definitely. So look, I like to take motivation from Giants of Africa, but I don't want to copy Giants of Africa.
Okay.
I want to get to the point where I can bring partners together to develop infrastructure. A big dream of mine would be to be able to work with the Giants of Africa and build a court and be one of the major funders of a court. But with Build, there's a lot that I want to do, but the central aspect for Build is I want to be the vehicle, not the driver per se. Because I want to be able to enable people and initiatives and organizations and groups to no longer have to worry about the financial restrictions that they may have faced or dealt with in the past. That's why I came in with FAM, and I sponsor FAM, and I give FAM the funding that they need to be able to operate, get to games, get kits, get shoes. That's why I like to have tournaments where I organize tournaments. Some I'm more hands-on with the planning of it. Others, I just say, you know what, I'm going to fund this specific event. So I want to continue that. I'm still really finding my way, if I'm being completely honest, with exactly what I want to do. But the reason why I'm confident and I'm okay with saying that is because I started Build knowing it was going to take me some time to really find my path and find my direction. But I just wanted to start it. A lot of people may not even know, but Giants of Africa started in 2002, 2003. It's been a long time that Masai and Godwin have been working to do.
20 years.
Yes.
They celebrated.
Yeah, and that's what was celebrated
Yeah.
recently. And they maybe only hit major spotlight after 12 to 15 years.
Yeah.
So it's a process. And I would love to. I haven't gotten the chance to speak to the founders and ask them how it was when they started out, what's changed in the way they operate. But I'm sure it's morphed into something they could have maybe never even imagined.
Yeah. Probably they had this plan, but it probably changed along the way.
Exactly. And so I want to do a number of things. I want to do clothes giveaways to give athletic gear to kids and regular clothes to kids. I want to continue having tournaments. Infrastructure would be great, but I think we're quite far off from that, at the time being at least. And I just want to continue to support the grassroots sports development in Kenya.
Yeah, and just to be clear, like, it's not only basketball. We were having a vision of football, rugby.
Other sports for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, basketball is what I started out in because of the Giants of Africa influence, but definitely other sports, and I want to expand across the continent as well.
And did you find it challenging starting up the organization, or any other challenge other than setting up? What have you experienced that like wow, I didn't expect this to happen? Your wow moment.
I don't know what I would say my wow moment is. It was difficult because I was starting build and running build while I was here on my summer holidays and December holidays, but I was then going back to the US and trying to navigate time difference. I was the only person involved with build directly and building out a brand and a name that was reputable, that people respected, that was professional. So it was difficult in that regard, but
Did you get local support?
I've gotten local support. So for this tournament that's happening now, I've gotten support from some great donors. And in the past, local support was a bit harder to come by. It was typically crowdfunding from family and friends. And then I picked up a job in the US that I purely devoted to continuing to be able to fund build. So like, again, I was lucky and I was blessed to have a family that was supporting me while I was in school, that I could go and say, I'm going to work and I'll devote X amount of hours every week, make a few $100s and be able to send that back so that I know there is some sustainability within it. Now is when it becomes a bit more complicated because I'm now self-sufficient for the most part. I'm not just getting money from my parents to do anything anyhow. So I need to get more creative in the fundraising aspect of things, but it's easier because now I'm here full-time.
Okay.
So I can have more meaningful conversations with potential donors and potential figures.
Okay. So we're clocking our last 10 minutes. But now let me shift it to your new role at Thunder. Nairobi City Thunder. Twende Sports Limited first.
Yes.
Which
you're repping.
Yep. And thank you for this. Came from him as well. So you now, people may not know, but you are part of the Thunder team. Tell us your role there and what does it entail?
So I lead partnerships and sponsorship development for Nairobi City Thunder, for Twende. I also assist in merchandise development and youth impact, which are aspects that we're still developing. But for the sponsorships and partnership side, I really just facilitate and lead all of the conversations with potential partners and sponsors that we want to work with or that we can work with. So that just means I create different decks and different pitches to potential partners. I have meetings to explain the value that we could derive. I get creative with the different groups that we could approach that would bring us value, but that we could also bring value to. And that's the area of sports that I'm really passionate about. Partnerships and sponsorships is what I always viewed as, if I was going to work in sports as a non-athlete, I'd have no interest in becoming a coach. I have very limited interest in becoming something like a GM. Partnerships and sponsorships was what I wanted to work in because it's very front-facing. It's conversations like this where I have to sell you a story, you have to buy into that story, and then through that, we will actually write out the story and build it out.
Okay.
So,
and is it how do I put it? Why is Thunder special? There are other teams you could have worked for
in Kenya.
I
Kenya, don't think so.
I don't think so. But what makes Thunder special? Let me rephrase the question. The success we've seen with Thunder and Twende is the outward look of what we are seeing. What is the inward look of how the organization itself is run? How do they run the organization?
So the differentiating factor for Twende to other teams, I consider Nairobi City Thunder and Twende as the first real professional sports organization that Kenya has seen, because it's a holistic approach. It's not just Nairobi City Thunder. It's not just infrastructure. We're trying to create the entire package the same way NBA teams, Premier League teams have the entire package. They have youth programs, they have infrastructure, they have the professional team, and they do everything, really. Twende is a small team. We don't have a ton of people working as a part of the team, but everyone's extremely professional and everyone is extremely bought into the vision of wanting to create the premier basketball team and basketball organization on the continent. And it's only been about 20 months, but we've continued to prove that we're hitting our milestones, and what we're saying is not just to say it to act cool and say something that sounds nice. We're saying it because we believe we can achieve that, and we are well on our way to achieving each of those things. And I'm very, very happy to be a part of it. I've been involved with Twende both directly and indirectly for the last year or so, and I've seen it grow, I've seen it develop, and it's very exciting. It's really, really exciting, to say the least.
And I'm lucky that you're here and you're the head of partnerships. So you have this partnership with Afrosport. This is my personal question. Maybe some viewers might be wondering, are we going to be getting what do you call the jerseys themselves as merchandise?
Potentially. Yes. We are working on creating replica jerseys that fans can purchase for themselves.
Okay.
So that's coming soon, maybe.
All right.
No promises.
All right. Lastly, about Twende, congratulations by the way on the championship.
Thank you.
And now you're headed road to Bal. How is the camp like, knowing that they have this now bigger challenge than the domestic league? How is the adjustment? Are we still on the off season, relaxing and all that?
No, look, building a professional sports organization that is mimicking the likes of, obviously on a much smaller scale, but Real Madrid, Liverpool, LA Lakers, Boston Celtics, you have the same mentality irrespective of what the stage is. So the mentality we had all of last season is what we want to transfer to Road to Bal.
Okay.
We have a bigger stage that we're playing on. Yes, it's going to be more competitive, it's going to be more difficult, but the mentality has not shifted because of that. We had a very specific mentality. We felt that we should have been in Road to Bal in the last Road to Bal. We had not proved it to anyone yet. So because of that, we had to prove it, we had to earn it. But there's some time that the players have taken off since the end of the season, but the mentality has not changed. The camp is very excited. Everyone's ready. We've been mobilizing and getting things prepared for Road to Bal. It's a very professionally ran league. They're looking at us to provide a lot of information about our team, about gear, so on and so forth. So we're ready. We're excited. It's an amazing platform to be on. We're excited to test our talents against teams from around the region and around the continent. But I wouldn't say there's been a very intentional shift in the way that we're approaching anything.
Okay. So I can add some little things for James Kamau. If you want somebody who's going to cover your media when you go out there, I can be the guy for you.
Noted. Well noted.
All right. So lastly, I think I'm done with my part of the questioning. There's a little small thing I wanted to add up to this episode.
Okay.
Some flavor to it. I want to give the guests an honor to ask me, the host, any question you might have as we close up. Feel free.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, I'm going to flip the question you asked me, because I'd love to hear the outward opinion of Nairobi City Thunder and Twende. What do you think differentiates Nairobi City Thunder and Twende from other teams that exist? And what is the kind of the image that we have as an organization for people like yourselves that are very well tapped into the basketball space?
Okay.
Be careful what you say.
I don't want to lose my ticket. Yeah.
Or your t-shirt.
All right. I think the first thing is I've seen structure. That is one of the things that really differentiates Nairobi City Thunder from all the rest of the teams. I've interacted with Colin, with OJ, the assistant team manager, and I've seen like the guys are well organized. They know what they are doing. They're not just playing. Most teams in Kenya just play because you have to run down there 8 months, but they're not just playing. The other thing I've seen is the first, for your second question, the image I have, it's a team that I can support as a fan. because it's exciting to watch. They are very competitive, and you just love the whole culture behind the team. But the other thing which I was happy when the Thunder came into when Twende came into the space is that they are running a business as well. Yeah, so that's one thing that I love about it. They are striving for revenue, and with that, the team can be sustainable in the future. So those are the things that I think I've actually observed.
Good.
Yeah.
That's not scripted, by the way. I didn't pay him to say any of that.
It's not a paid episode, guys.
No, but that's good to hear because those are the aspects we're striving to make clear, and we're striving to set a standard on for how teams should be run. It's not just a hole that money is being thrown into like a lot of teams are typically run. Like we want it to be a sustainable vehicle that continues to grow and level up.
You know, if it becomes a hole that you're throwing money into it, you find that most team owners become frustrated. It becomes now a burden, you see. So I think that's something that was put into consideration way before even acquiring the team. So that's great to see. Yeah.
Definitely.
Any other question? This is the only chance.
No.
Okay.
That's the main question that I'd want to ask. I won't flatter you too much with too many questions.
So, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Sparing your time, and we'll love to have you back another time. So, that's been it, guys. Make sure to subscribe and like. It really helps. And remember that we are here for you. We are here for the sports. So it's to bring the sports to you through our lenses. Have a good time, and I hope you enjoyed.